A quick scan of a QR code led to a website, then turned into a scam that redirected people to fraud within seconds. The codes appeared in public places, parking meters, restaurants, posters, and payment points. They looked official, often placed over real QR codes or printed as part of legitimate signage. People scanned them to pay, check menus, or access services they trusted. The link opened instantly, showing pages that looked identical to real payment or login systems. Victims entered details or completed payments, believing the process was normal. Across countries, QR code scams have taken millions by exploiting everyday interactions. What felt like a simple scan was actually a system designed to redirect trust into financial loss. As QR code usage expanded globally across payments, menus, and public services, scams began appearing in everyday locations across the United States, Europe, the United Kingdom, Asia, and Australia. These scams were often carried out by organized groups placing fraudulent QR codes over legitimate ones, or distributing fake codes through printed materials and digital channels. The codes appeared in parking meters, restaurant tables, public transport stations, and promotional posters, blending into normal environments. Victims encountered them during routine actions, paying for parking, ordering food, or accessing services. Because QR codes do not reveal their destination before scanning, verification was rarely possible at the moment of use. In many cases, fake codes were physically placed over real ones, making detection extremely difficult. Reports from agencies like the OAIC and FTC highlighted increasing incidents of QR-based fraud. Financial losses ranged from small payments to larger transactions tied to redirected payment systems. By the time the code was scanned, the interaction had already moved into a controlled environment designed by the scammer. The interaction moved quickly. The scan opened a link that appeared to match the expected service or payment page. Design, branding, and layout were copied closely, making the page feel familiar and trustworthy. In payment scenarios, users were asked to enter card details or confirm transactions to complete the process. In other cases, login credentials or personal information were requested under the pretext of verification. Because the action followed a routine task, there was little reason to question the page. Some scams used shortened URLs or redirects, hiding the final destination of the link. The process was designed to be completed in seconds, reducing time for hesitation or checks. Users believed they were interacting with a legitimate system connected to the physical location. By the time information was entered, the scam had already captured the data or redirected the payment. Once details were entered, scammers moved immediately to use the information or complete the transaction. Payments made through fake pages were routed directly to accounts controlled by the scam network. In credential-based cases, login details were used to access real accounts within minutes. Some victims were redirected through multiple pages, creating the impression of a normal transaction flow. In certain setups, small payments were processed successfully to build trust before larger amounts were taken. Because the interaction happened instantly, there was little delay between input and exploitation. Investigations later showed that many of these sites were active only for short periods before being replaced. Funds were often moved quickly across multiple accounts to reduce traceability. By the end of this stage, the loss had already occurred, even though the user believed the process was complete. As these scams spread, attackers refined their placement and timing, targeting high-traffic locations and peak usage periods. Codes were placed where users expected quick interaction: parking areas, busy restaurants, and transit hubs. In some cases, digital versions were shared through emails or messages, extending the scam beyond physical locations. Follow-up pages were sometimes used to request additional details or confirm transactions, increasing the amount of data collected. Because QR codes are widely trusted and used for convenience, users rarely questioned their authenticity. Reports showed that even small payments could escalate into larger losses when additional steps were introduced. Across regions, agencies like the OAIC and FCC documented similar patterns. Behind the scenes, the infrastructure was designed to be temporary, shifting quickly to avoid detection. By this stage, the scam had evolved into a scalable system built around everyday digital behavior. Doubt usually appeared when users checked their bank statements and saw unexpected charges or transactions they did not recognize. Some attempted to revisit the same QR code location and noticed it had been removed or replaced. Others contacted the service provider and discovered the payment page or login page was not associated with them. In many cases, the fraudulent website was no longer accessible, making verification difficult. Authorities, including the OAIC and ACCC, issued warnings about these patterns. By the time the issue was confirmed, funds had already been transferred or data compromised. Recovery efforts were often limited due to the speed of transactions and temporary infrastructure. What initially felt like a simple scan quickly revealed itself as a system designed to redirect trust into financial loss. The scam was typically uncovered after victims reported suspicious payments or account activity to banks, platforms, or consumer protection agencies. Across countries, reports showed consistent patterns: replaced QR codes, cloned pages, and rapid data capture. Agencies like the OAIC, the ACTC, and the DIC identified these as coordinated QR-based fraud operations. Investigations revealed how scammers targeted high-traffic locations and used temporary infrastructure to avoid detection. Digital analysis traced networks of domains that were frequently changed and reused across campaigns. Financial tracking showed that payments were quickly routed through multiple accounts and jurisdictions. In some cases, links were found between QR scams and broader fraud networks using similar techniques. Public advisories were issued warning users to verify QR sources before scanning. What appeared to be isolated incidents was ultimately identified as a structured system exploiting everyday digital behavior. What made this scam effective was its simplicity. It required only a single scan in a moment of routine activity. Users were not acting unusually. They were completing everyday actions like paying, ordering, or accessing services. The system removed visibility, hiding the destination behind a code that could not be easily verified. Because QR codes are associated with convenience, they were trusted without hesitation. Investigations showed that the same structure was reused globally, with only placement and links changing. This allowed the scam to scale across cities, platforms, and use cases. The financial impact often came from quick, unnoticed transactions rather than prolonged interaction. For many victims, the realization came only after checking their accounts later. The pattern remains active today, evolving with new environments, but relying on the same core mechanism of turning a scan into financial loss.